and welcome to Women's Health. Women's Health is a series of television programs that were hosted by the Mayor's Commission on Women and the Women's Foundation of Lincoln and Lancaster County in conjunction with 10 Health. My name is Kathie Uhrmacher. I'm currently the chair of the Mayor's Commission on Women and the president of the Women's Foundation. And today our topic is nutrition. I'm joined today by Alice Henneman, who's here with us from the University of Nebraska Extension. Thank you so much, Alice, for being here. And today our topic is about nutrition. And we're going to be talking today about the struggles and the challenges that we all have from day to day on trying to make sure that we get good nutrition for ourselves and for our families. Let's start out, Alice, talking a little bit about the situation we find ourselves in our country today when it comes to size. And what I mean by that is the size of people. Yeah. Because it does seem that if we walk down the street, we see just lots of people who really are overweight. And in all the news and the research that we hear, we see so much about obesity these days. Let's talk a little bit about how that happened. How did we come to the place of being such a really obese group of people?
Well, very simply put, Kathie, there's less opportunities for us to be physically active, and there's many more opportunities for us to eat, especially food that's pretty high in calories.
Okay, that's true. Because I think about growing up, there was not as much fast food, there was not as many snack foods, and now I think they're everywhere. Oh, that's really true.
Everywhere. And since we don't cook as much, we depend upon other people to feed us. So what we purchase or what somebody feeds us, we don't have a choice of the ingredients in it or how many calories they put in it.
So the difference is that when we were doing a better job of cooking, then we knew exactly what we were putting in.
Exactly. And we probably went out to the garden and we picked the food and we stood by the kitchen sink and prepared it and so on.
Right. And the less activity situation is just because we have a tendency to watch TV too much, we're sedentary. I mean, why have we decreased our activity so much, do you think?
Well, one thing, we do have activities that are sedentary, for example, like in front of the TV screen, the computer screen, but also many more of us are working. We're working longer hours, so there's just less time at either the beginning or the end of the day to fit in some exercise. Kids may be coming back from school on a school bus rather than be walking home. And maybe parents don't really want them to play outside until they get home from work.
Yeah, the safety issues, and that makes us a little bit more concerned about playing outside and across backyards, which we used to do a lot. Yeah.
Well, and just the portion sizes, too, have changed so much since when we originally served people cookies or served them other foods. And we have just a few slides that brought along to show if you put up the portion size ones. And these are just two examples of how the portion size has changed, how the calories have changed, and then how much physical activity you'd have to get to burn off those extra calories.
Okay, so when you're talking about portion size, you're talking about, for example, a cup of spaghetti that might have been something that we would have had before. You're saying that today we tend to go with like double that.
Oh, easily double that.
And not just in restaurants, but in our personal lives as well.
We just kind of think, bigger is better. Okay. And like a friend of mine says that, it's really inexpensive to eat out. You get so much if you bring half of it home. You've got 2 meals for the price of one.
But we tend to see it and then we think we should eat the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What you put on your plate is what you tend to eat.
Okay.
And could we just see the next slide that tells actually how much calorie difference there is between those two?
Oh my, and that's like double.
Oh yeah, and it takes just an extra 100 calories a day, and you could put on as many as 10 pounds a year. Now let's look at how long you'd have to clean house to burn that extra 500 calories.
Well, I like to clean house, but I don't think I'm guessing I don't want to clean it that much. Oh my, 2 hours and 35 minutes extra.
Yeah, you'd have the cleanest house in town if you...
I would. That would be true. I would have a very clean house. I see. So what you're saying is because we're eating so much more in portion size, which has obviously crept up on us through the years, we're also then having to balance that by doing more exercise, but yet in fact our lifestyles are going the other way and we're doing less exercise.
For the most part, I think we are, just because people are getting children to childcare. Then they're going on to work. Then maybe the other spouse is picking up the child from childcare, and then the family has dinner, and then everybody to bed and it starts all over again.
Right, sure. I can understand what you're saying. Well, so another example would be...
I've got another one there, that popcorn, of how much it's changed over the years. You can see that 5 cups to 11, if you could, the calories increased tremendously.
Right.
And see how much you'd water aerobics to burn that off. You would have to be in that water for...
Oh my, 1 hour and 10 minutes just to burn up that much popcorn.
You'd be shriveled up.
But I would be physically fit.
You would be physically fit.
But I think your point is a good one, and that is that in the life in which we live, even in a day, we don't have that much time for exercise. I mean, even if we really like exercise and we're really, good about doing it, we don't have time for that much more exercise. So really it's a trade-off. What you're saying, it's a trade-off. If you eat more, then you have to exercise more. If you're not exercising as much, then you really need to cut back. And when we're talking portion size, we're talking a serving, right? Or what are we talking about? Like, for example, when I was growing up, there was always this food pyramid. And it was like at the bottom, there's these things, and you go up to the top. And how has that pyramid changed now?
Well, the pyramid has now changed. It's called My Plate.
My Plate.
And I think it's a nice visual to help us actually picture portion size. Half of it is filled with fruits and vegetables, and the other half is divided between a protein food and a whole grain type of food. Then, kind of up at the top, is a dairy serving. If you kind of think of having that for at least 2 of your meals a day, you've pretty much got a pretty balanced diet. You've got it kind of in the proper proportions on your plate. And it really gives you a beginning to think about how to begin. And the thing that it really emphasizes, too, with the new one, more so than in the past, is it really says to watch those labels to see what you're really getting, to avoid foods that are really high in fat and sugar that add a lot of the calories.
Okay.
To watch your portion size. I'm going to show you some portion sizes in just a second, but also thinking about where you're getting a lot of your calories from beverages. Remember, we used to drink water when we were thirsty.
That's true.
And what it really recommends is to get back to drinking water rather than a sugary soft drink. And I brought along an example of a soft drink today.
Okay.
Now, this is the soft drink. This is the amount of sugar in it. How big of a soft drink do you think that is?
Oh, I'd guess maybe 16 ounces.
It's a 20-ounce soft drink.
Okay, 20 ounces.
And how many servings do you think the label says?
Wow. I'm guessing that if I know people, they would probably drink the whole thing, even though, but I'm guessing maybe 2.
It's actually 2.5.
2.5.
So, you and I and one of these guys gets a half of the pop. And, the thing, too, we were talking earlier about when you look on the label for calories, it gives the calories for just that.
For one single serving. Okay. So somebody who looks at the label and they see the calories and they think, oh, that's not too bad, but they have to look up to make sure they're looking at how many servings are in that, because it was actually 2.5 times that amount of calories.
Yeah.
So this is the amount of sugar that's in just that amount of sugar pops?
16 teaspoons.
16 teaspoons of sugar are in this?
Exactly.
Oh my.
And I put the spoon in because who of us would think of eating that much sugar?
No, I know. I was thinking to myself, nobody would say, oh, here, I think I'll just put this in my pop. Oh my, that isn't a lot. Yeah, I think that's really true. I think it doesn't really mean, I don't think people equate when they see that on the label, they don't equate with this. Oh, that's very telling. Okay, so when we're talking about portion size, I think there's a lot of people that hear this word portion size. What are we talking about when we say portion size? I mean, obviously that's a critical piece, right?
Right. I brought along some examples, Kathy, of what that might look like, at least for starters.
Okay.
It's like kind of an odd assortment of things.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a tasty meal here, Alice, but what do we have going?
Well, okay, in general, that protein group that we looked at on My Plate, that might be meat or fish or poultry or dry beans.
Okay.
And we should have somewhere around 5.5 ounces a day if we're eating about a 2,000 calorie diet. And 3 ounces of cooked would be equivalent to, for fish, whoops, this balls. Whoa. That, for fish, cooked would be a checkbook. Okay. For meat, fish, or poultry would be a deck of cards. If we're looking at, say, in the dairy group, which is that one kind of at the top of the plate, 1.5 ounces of a cheese would be about 4 dice. If we're looking at the fruit and vegetables, then a cup is equivalent to like a soft or a baseball.
So a cup, like for example, that's about the size of a whole apple. Okay, and so the whole apple would be just 1 serving?
Well, now what they recommend is that, again, for about 2,000 calories, that for vegetables you have the equivalent of about 2.5 cups a day. For fruits, that you have about 2 cups a day. So you know that apple, if it's a big apple, could very easily be
about half of what you need. But if you wanted to do half of an apple, then you could do other things that go with it.
And I think too, with the apple, you're not going to be eating the core. Some are smaller,
right.
so
exactly. Right. And so this would be what we would say is the meat portion. So if you had a piece of pork or a piece of ham or something like that, then you're talking about this size, or chicken. And then this is the fish. But this seems really small for cheese. That's a distortion that a lot of people have then, I'm guessing.
So.
Because you know, if you think about cubed cheese, that's about the size, right? So 4 cubes of cheese is it.
It's about 1.5 ounces. Yeah.
Wow. Because I'm guessing a lot of people would not have guessed that. They would have probably thought it would be a lot bigger than that.
I think so, yeah. But
wow.
It's not really a whole lot more than that.
Interesting. So this would be the portions that we would be talking about for protein, fruits and vegetables, and the dairy.
And this would be also like for the dairy group, they say about 3 servings, about a cup in size. So it would be like 3 cups of milk or yogurt, or 1 of these of cheese. And they do recommend that for all of these servings too, is that they are low fat without a lot of added sugar or added fats to them.
Right, sure. Okay, well that's good. That's a real sort of visual thing for us to think about with portion size.
Another thing with portions is they've done some, well, I'm going to have you do a little experiment first, Kathie.
Okay, good.
Now, with this, I want you to pour out about how much cereal a person would pour from this.
Okay, you mean what I think would be a regular size of cereal.
Or your husband, or...
Okay, well, I'd say about that.
Okay, I want you to look to see what size the serving size is on there.
A serving size, oh my, 1/4 of a cup. Oh dear.
And how many calories?
120.
Okay, let's see how much you have here.
Okay, well.
Which equals?
Oh my, so that's a
calculator.
cup. There's a cup, so I just poured 500 calories. Is that right? And that doesn't even count the milk or any of the things. Oh my.
Just to kind of, that's why they've really talked about looking at the labels. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't have this much, but I think a lot of us don't realize
that that this would be 4 servings. Wow.
Now, let me show you something else though. The bowl I gave you. This is about what
oh my.
1/4 a cup looks like.
Oh, and see, that's why people pour more, because if you put that in and you said, oh, that's a serving, that wouldn't be enough. You would think that would definitely not be enough.
Because one of the easiest things that you can do to try to get your portion sizes down is just to use smaller plates, smaller bowls.
Oh, really?
And I'll show you. Now, here's this, and I brought along a smaller bowl.
Oh, sure. It looks like a lot more, doesn't it?
But this is really a little simple trick that you can do to help you downsize your portion size. And you may not even notice the difference.
Isn't that interesting? Wow, that is true. Well, and like you said, everything in our culture seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger, so I guess we've made our dishes bigger too. Is that true for plates as well?
Yeah, when I started reading about the influence of the size of your tablescape, if you will, I downsized from the big plates that we had to the ones that are this size. And you know, we don't feel like we're missing a thing at all. In fact, we look like we're eating an abundance of food.
You feel like you're eating actually more when it's a smaller plate. Oh, that's very interesting. Well, that's a simple technique.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just that alone could save you. You know, it looks like you're getting twice as much there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Want to have another little experiment that you can do.
Okay.
This is with the beverages. And these experiments were done by a Dr. Brian Wansing, just to show the influence of portion size. And I'm going to put a sock on this thing.
You're going to put a sock on?
I'm going to put a sock on.
Okay.
Just so you can't see how much is in here.
Okay, so I can't cheat, is what you're saying. Okay.
Now, I want you to try and pour out this same amount into each of those glasses.
Okay.
One is a tall, thin one. Another is a short, wide one.
Okay.
And go ahead and use the whole bottle.
And I'm going to do all 20 ounces. I feel like the mad scientist. I have to tell you, chemistry was not my thing, but. Okay, there you go.
Okay, 20 ounces. So half of that would be
10
ounces or a cup and a fourth.
Right.
So let's just see how much we've got out of this one. In fact, I'll let you pour it out.
Okay, so I'm pouring this into the measuring cup.
And we're looking to see if we have it's a 2-cup measuring cup.
Oh dear.
How much do you have?
Well, it's 12 ounces, maybe 13 ounces, 12 or 13 ounces. Oh my.
Yeah.
Really?
When you have a size like this, it doesn't look like it's filling up as much, because I noticed you trying to equalize the two. So we tend to put more in them. And another trick you can just do is to get a tall, thin glass. In fact, they did this experiment with bartenders because they're pretty good at pouring, and they made the same mistakes of putting more in the short, wide glass. In fact, after giving this presentation once, I asked the audience, well, what have you learned from me? And this one guy says, well, I've learned to go to bars where they have short, wide glasses.
Well, yeah, there you went. And it backfired. So this has significantly less in it than this one, but because it's a tall, thin glass, you think it has more. Okay. Okay,
Just
great.
a simple little thing that you can do. Now, another thing, I've got 2 dishes here. Which one is the most enticing?
Enticing. Well, I think this one.
Okay. This is the candy dish experiment, and they both have the candy in them. And one of the experiments they did is they gave different staff candy dishes. Some of them got a clear candy dish. Some of them got a covered candy dish. Some of them had the candy dish right on their desk. Some of them had it about 6 feet or more away. And they found that when it was right on their desk, or right where they could see it, that they ate more.
Sure, that makes sense.
They didn't even know how much they ate. But when it was farther away, especially, and when it was covered, they ate less. The farther it was, the less they ate. And they had a better idea of how much they ate.
How much they'd eaten. Ah, very interesting. Okay, so the lesson to be learned is, well, first of all, don't have candy at your desk. But secondly, make sure that you're thinking about how much you're taking or putting it away from you. Okay, very interesting.
Now, one of the things too that we can do with the candy while we're now, because I promised you chocolate at the end of this, I want to make sure that we have enough in here.
Okay.
But is that it takes about 20 minutes from the time we first start eating till we start to feel full. And one of the, I think of like kids at school sometimes where they have such a short time to eat.
That's really true.
I think it's hard to avoid overeating because you're eating just so fast that you're full before your
body
body
starts.
Try to
get it all in. Right.
But that one of the things is just to slow down and to savor the taste of that food. There's a little experiment that some of my colleagues at the Wyoming Extension did, and it's called the pleasure of a kiss. If you wouldn't mind eating a Candy Kiss on camera.
Okay.
That they just have the some directions where to help make a person, think about the flavor of a food. See if you really enjoy it more as you eat it slower. Because one of the things that happens is all the smell, the aroma gets more time to go into your olfactory senses. You actually experience more of a sense of the flavor because you're actually smelling more of that.
So slowing down is the big issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now there's some foods though, when you slow down, you may find out I don't really like that if I take time to eat it, which then you may actually not eat those anymore.
Right.
But this is the experiment. If you've got some candy at home, just try it along with us. All in the name of science, right, Kathie?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, now you can't eat it right away. Just kind of admire and think about it and how good it's going to taste. I gave you dark chocolate, so of course it's medicinal. Right?
Okay, that's right.
Now, just slowly unwrap it and place it in your mouth. But you can't bite on it yet.
Oh, okay.
Now, you let it slowly melt in your mouth and just savor the flavor and texture. And you can kind of tell it's a whole different flavor to it. In fact, when people slow down, often they find out too that it really only takes 1 or 2 candies to satisfy their need. Mm-hmm. So what do you think? Did you like it?
That's great. Well, it really makes sense.
Well, because you said yes, I will trust you with and give this to you as a gift.
Oh, well, thank you very
one.
much. Very good. And now I'm going to always be mindful when I look at this. Well, Alice, thank you so much. We really appreciate your being here. This has been so informative, and we really appreciate your time. It's great experiments.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This has been Women's Health, sponsored by the Mayor's Commission on Women and the Women's Foundation of Lincoln and Lancaster County. Thanks for joining us today.